Okay, so if you think your business's reputation lives and dies on Google, you are missing a huge piece of the puzzle. It's a really common mistake, so let's break down where your reputation actually lives.
So let me ask you this. When a customer is seriously thinking about spending money with you, where do they really go to make that final call? I bet it's not just where you think. Because you see, for a customer today, finding a business isn't just a single search. No way. It's a whole journey. It's got multiple steps: discovery, then verification, then validation, all before they even think about picking up the phone. And in this explainer, we're going to follow that exact journey. We'll kick things off with why your reputation is literally everywhere. Then we'll look at that first impression, the deeper dive, the final validation, and we'll wrap it all up with what we call the trust equation.
All right, part one, reputation is everywhere. The most important thing to get your head around is that customers today are smart. They're skeptical, and that's exactly why they almost never, ever trust a single source of information.
Their behavior really boils down to this one key idea: cross-checking. It's that natural instinct to see something on one platform and then immediately hop over to another one to see if the story matches up. They're looking for proof.
And that leads to the most crucial takeaway of this whole thing. Customers don't just trust a 5-star rating on Google. What they trust is seeing a consistent story about your business, no matter where they look. That's what builds real, actual confidence.
Okay, moving on to part two, the first impression. This is where that customer journey almost always kicks off. Yep, with a simple search on Google. Now, the key thing to realize here is just how fast this all happens. A potential customer glances at your business profile, sees your star rating, clocks the number of reviews you have, and maybe swipes through a photo or two. It happens in seconds. It's a snap judgment.
And this brings us to a super important point. You got to think of Google as your digital handshake. It is a critical first impression, for sure, but it is very rarely the final decision. It's just the start.
So, if Google is just the start, where do they go next? Well, that brings us to part three, the deeper dive. This is where customers move beyond that first click to really get the full story.
First, they often head somewhere to just get a feel for your business's personality. They want to see how active you are. In other words, they're looking for a vibe check.
And where do they get that vibe? Your social media, of course. They're asking, are you active? Do you engage with people in the comments? An outdated or totally silent Facebook or Instagram page can be a major red flag. It kind of suggests you might not be on top of your game.
Okay, so after the vibe check, the search gets a little more serious. Now, they're looking for an expert opinion, usually from a source they already trust for your specific type of work.
So this could be Yelp if you're a cafe, maybe Angie for a contractor, or Healthgrades for a doctor. Reviews on these specific platforms often carry a lot more weight, simply because they're seen as more specialized and, frankly, more credible within that niche.
So they've checked Google, they've vibed with your social media, and they've seen what the industry experts say. Where could they possibly go next? Well, the final stop on their journey is part 4, the final validation. And this one happens right on your own turf, your website.
The second they land on your site, they are subconsciously running a final checklist. Step 1. Does this look professional and legit? Step 2. Does the branding and the messaging here actually match everything I just saw everywhere else? And finally, step 3. Is this the last piece of the puzzle that earns my trust?
And that brings us to our final section, the trust equation. This is where it all comes together. And really, it's just a simple battle between two things: consistency versus inconsistency.
Just look at this comparison. On one side, you have inconsistency, things like different star ratings, outdated info, unanswered comments, and all of that just creates doubt. But on the other side, you've got consistency, updated profiles, active responses, matching messaging, and that is what builds the confidence they need to actually make a decision.
So here's the bottom line. Any inconsistency, any little crack in your online story introduces hesitation. And in business, hesitation almost always leads to a lost lead. They'll just shrug and move on to the next name on the list.
So what can you do about this right now? Here's your simple action step. Open an incognito or private window in your browser and search for your own business. Seriously, put yourself in your customer's shoes and see what story you find out there. And as you're doing it, follow this simple checklist. Check your Google profile first. Then look at your social media platforms. Go find yourself on those industry directories. And finally, land on your own website and ask yourself one simple question. Does it all tell one cohesive story?
Because if you take away only one thing from this explainer today, please let it be this. Your reputation should tell the same compelling story absolutely everywhere. That consistency, that's the real key to turning a curious searcher into a confident customer.